My name is Julian Shaver. I'm with Hard Row Vineyards. I'm the winemaker here. We are a small family winery. We produce wines in the Lake Chelan AVA of Washington State. One of the wines that we love to make is Pinot Noir. I would love to share my experience with Pinot Noir from my perspective up here in Washington. A nursery is going to have several different clones, and it's important to consider the differences. So we should first start probably with what is a clone. If you're going to plant a vineyard, whether it's commercial or in your backyard, chances are you're going to be buying starts from a nursery, right? And these nurseries will offer a selection of clones, and these clones will offer different characteristics that might be beneficial to either just the growing site or the resulting wine, and it's very important to consider these when planting your vineyard. We call them clones because they're genetically identical to the parent plant. They take clippings and propagate those clippings, and what you get are genetically identical clones of that vine. So we grow 3 different clones of Pinot Noir. They're all known as Dijon Clones. We've got 113 and 115 and 777. These different vines all have different characteristics that we use to make a more rounded Pinot Noir in final blending. Most Pinot Noirs that you drink are made from a selection of different clones. 113 tends to have some uneven ripening. That might sound like a bad thing, and it certainly can be, but this uneven ripening tends to translate into a higher acidity. Acidity in Pinot Noir can be very important, so having 113 bring that acidity can be very helpful. Aromas are super important in wine, and Pinot tends to have these very delicate aromas that can be super interesting. The floral aspect, I think, comes mainly from 113. It's kind of like the pretty component in the wine. With Pinot, I really feel like it's so intense. You can highlight individual flowers. It's just amazing that it takes you to a place that is more specific than simple floral. The top, let's see, about 9 rows here are going to be 113, which is Dijon Clone 113. This is a type of Pinot clone, right? So you can see that these are just barely changing color. They don't have a lot of body, but the aromatics are amazing. So you can just see here, we're changing color. 777 should have the most coloration. 115 should be kind of in between the 113 where we are now. The 115 is another clone that we grow. 115 is a great option just because it is such a well-balanced clone. The 115 I consider to be kind of like our core of our blend. And you can see this is similarly changing color, but we're getting a little more coloration, more purple berries there. We vinify it, whole cluster, to bring out a lot of that Pinot character. And then we'll add either 113, which is a bit thinner but has great aromatics, to the 115. And then we'll use 777, which has a lot of tannin and color, to kind of darken things up, add some mid-palate, and really round out the final blend. So we're really just trying to bulk up kind of our 115 with these other 2 clones that we grow here. The counterpart to 113, kind of the lighter, more aromatic clone, is 777. This one is a heavier, darker. The grapes ripen very uniformly, which is amazing. And it tends to have a higher seed count, tends to have thicker skins, and this translates into bigger tannins. This translates into darker color, but can be a little overpowering. So we use 777 to bulk up our Pinot, right? We get the pretty aromatics from the 113, the varietal character, the center of the blend, the 115, and then if we want a little color, a little more tannin, then we'll blend in more 777. 777 is a great clone. It doesn't have the strongest aromatics, and it tends to have some darker fruit colors, but not a lot of character, not a lot of aromatics, but great color and great tannin. So it's a fantastic clone for blending. This is, a clone that we grow basically to bulk that up. We want kind of a darker red color when we can get it. Oftentimes color is one of the hardest things to try and manipulate or capture in a wine. And so the best way to do it is by blending. If you want to enhance color, get a grape that produces a lot of pigment and then blend that with your prettier, less heavy, in this case, clones or just wines in general. Look how small these berries are. You see, this ratio of juice to skins is what helps us get that heavier tannin. The larger the berries are, the more liquid is in them, and thus you get a lower ratio of grape juice to grape skins, right? And so the skins contain tannin, they contain pigment, all of which is extracted to give the wine that dark color we love, that heavier body. And so nice small berries is a key to getting, you know, a more intense wine. We typically will destem the 113. You know, even though we're vinifying the wine together as in a big 5-ton fermenter, we'll destem the 113 because stems can interfere with your high tone aromatics. They can also interfere with resulting color. They tend to leach some of the color out of the wine. So when you have stem retention, you tend to have less color. 113 is kind of weak in this category. We elect to destem it. Then the 115, we do a whole cluster often. We like the stems because they do bring some spice. They do bring that kind of like earthier character that we love in Pinot Noir. You know, I love when it has that like mushroom underbrush or like damp earth kind of quality alongside these like really pretty aromatics and fruit. So if we can do whole cluster fermentation, that means we aren't destemming it. They're going into the fermenter, the grape bunches on their stems, still intact. That is probably the gentlest way to ferment a wine, and this has some benefits, but again, because of the stems, we're losing some color, and this is just something that you have to deal with if you're gonna make a whole cluster fermented wine. And then the 777, we usually will do a blend of both. We're shooting for generally about 30% stem retention, depending on how much 115 we have. If we don't destem any of the 115, then maybe we will destem the 777, just so that we get a good ratio of stems. We don't want too much of that stem quality. We don't want to leach too much color. I guess a good question to answer is like, why? What's with all this worrying about the nuts and bolts of Pinot? We're on a quest to produce the best wines that we possibly can. Got to look at all aspects of the wine, you know, from the vineyard, farming practices, to clonal selection, to vinifying it, you know, which barrels we're going to use, even which bottles we're going to use, what corks. On our quest to produce the best wine we can, we've really got to explore the nitty-gritty of each aspect. We really just hit the tip of the iceberg. Hopefully, I've opened your eyes to the variation that exists within just the simple world of Pinot Noir. So if I forgot anything that's important, please leave a comment. Let me know. If I got anything wrong, leave a comment and let's talk about it. Hopefully we can both grow our knowledge together. If you want to look at our wines, there's hardrow.com. Thanks so much for watching.